Welcome back to the Unstuck movement. I am your host, Rob Z. This platform is created to help you break chains that are holding you back in your life, personally and professionally. Today, we have the incredible Paul Bauer with us on the podcast. Paul, is that how you say your last name? I didn't even ask you.
That's right. Yeah, it's just like Jack Bauer,
Perfect.
from 24.
That's what I thought. Okay, good. So as we get into an episode, man, I like to start off with a question right off the bat to get right to the heart of things. And I'm really curious, excited to talk to you today about this topic. How do men lose their masculine presence in relationships?
Well, this is fascinating. I want you guys to take a moment and think about the fairy tale of Beauty and the Beast. Beauty meets this woolly, untamed, savage creature, and she really falls for this guy, right? She can't get her way with this guy. He's wild. He does what he wants. He runs his castle, but she loves him for it, right? But slowly over time, she's trying to tame him. She's trying to civilize him. She's trying to make him go to tea parties and make him dress nice and all this kind of stuff. Well, he, liking her, agrees to this. Okay, yeah, I'll go to a tea party. Yeah, I'll play tea set with you. Yeah, I'll wear this nice suit and stuff. Well, we call this the betatization process. She slowly turns him into this guy that she thinks that she wants, which is the handsome prince at the end. But really, now that he's this tame guy that she's basically been able to manipulate this whole time into being the guy that she thinks she wants, well, now she's lost attraction to him because he's not the same guy that he was when she first met him. And so that it's a phenomenon that we've learned through evolutionary psychology. It's a pretty common process, and we call it the betatization process. A great book on this is called Practical Female Psychology. And it's basically a 5-step process where it starts off where women will test men. And all women test men either consciously or subconsciously. You can't avoid it. So the best thing guys can do to prevent something like this from happening is learn how to handle those types of tests. And there's different ways of doing that. But what she'll do is she'll typically start testing a guy. Common test, a great example of a common test that guys might see, especially out in the dating circuit, right, is from the movie Star Wars, right? When Luke rescues Princess Leia from the jail cell, she goes, "Oh, aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper?" Right? Just kind of a not really a mean-spirited comment, but sort of an offhanded, subtle insult almost. And he's like, "Huh? What?" Right? Well, a good way to handle something like that, which is a pretty common test, is to agree and amplify with it. Be like, short. Not only am I too short to be a stormtrooper, they wouldn't even let me into the midget wrestling team, But basically, you agree with what she says and you amplify it, and that signals to her that you're not taking whatever she says seriously, and that actually boosts women's attraction. But most guys don't handle that. Most guys they take that as an insult. They get really hurt by that, and then they sort of react emotionally. And anytime you react emotionally to women's tests, you fail. You basically fail. And the thing, I like to say it's often subconscious from women. They don't even know that they're testing you, but they do know that you failed when you failed the test. So it only becomes a test really when you fail it. The next thing they do is, after you've been consistently failing these tests, one of the things that women try to do is they get you to open up. They want you to be more vulnerable with them. They want you to, what are you feeling right now? And so society tells us we need to do this. We need to be more vulnerable. We need to be more, open emotionally and emotionally available with women. But the thing is it's often a trap, and guys handle this wrong. You can be open and intimate with your girl, but if let's say you're having a bad day, right? You're having a bad day and you're just constantly telling her about all your problems. If you don't have any solutions behind that, eventually that's going to start eroding her attraction to you. And she's going to start looking at you as a weak guy that can't handle his problems. Right. So I like to say, bless their hearts. Women think that they care. They even want to care about your problems, but they're just not evolutionarily wired to care about your problems. They want you to be their rock emotionally, and not they don't want to. It doesn't work the other way around. So the problem is guys tend to overly share these things, and then women have this awful tendency, not all women obviously, but a lot of women have this awful tendency to take what we use when we open up emotionally and use it against us, right? So that further erodes that attraction. Another thing women start doing is they start putting guys to work. You hear this often portrayed as chore play. Oh, I think it's so hot when my husband does the laundry. I think it's so hot when my husband does the dishes. No, she doesn't. She doesn't. But she's happy to put you to work doing these things and sort of make you a dutiful plow horse in your relationship. But none of that builds her attraction to you. And if she's able to consistently do this type of stuff to you, and then sort of dangle sex as a carrot for you to do these things, that lowers her attraction. She's like, hey, I'm able to manipulate this guy into doing whatever I want him to do. And so that further erodes attraction. Well, eventually it gets to a point where she really starts questioning why she's even in this relationship. And there's this thing called Breifeldt's Law. This guy, Robert Breifeldt, he was a surgeon in the late 1800s. He ended up not being a surgeon and transferring his career or changing his career over to cultural or social anthropology. And he asserts that in all animal species, including human species, it's the female, not the male, that determines whether a relationship's going to take place. And if she doesn't find any value in the man anymore, she's going to leave him. And you see this in the animal kingdom, and you see this in our modern day 50% divorce rate, and women file for 80% of the divorces. It's because she's gotten to a point where she's emasculated you and weakened you so much that she just is no longer attracted to you. And so she starts questioning the relationship, and then she starts lining up her male orbiters. And almost all women have some kind of male orbiters, either at work or in their social circles. She's probably not all these women are cheating, but they all have these guys that are asking her out to lunch or, flirting with her at the office and stuff. She knows, she has these guys as options. And so she starts lining these guys up, and then eventually she'll either cheat on the guy or she'll just file for divorce and then, seek her next relationship. That's why a lot of guys are just completely flabbergasted when they get a divorce or they go through a breakup and she's already in a relationship with a new guy a month out. Like, how is she already in a relationship with a guy after only a month? Well, that guy's been there the whole time. She might not have been cheating on you with him, but that guy's been, in her DMs or at work and talking to her on a daily basis this whole time. And she's finally just gotten so sick of your weakness that she leaves. So that's typically what happens. And it's very common and it's pretty sad, but guys can defend against this if they learn how to handle these tests, learn how to handle proper communication, learn how to basically understand what she's doing, and then work with it, right? I call it if once you understand the matrix, you can, work within the rules of the matrix, like Neo, right? You can stop these bullets and you can actually have healthy relationships once you understand what's going on.
Yeah. I think what you're saying also is some of that is generalizations of women. Some of that is some women. And I think also women a good woman calls you to be a better man, right? So a lot of these tests that they don't know that they're doing are because they want to test you to make sure that you're going to be a good protector, that you're going to be there for them, that you're going to be the person they need you to be. Because physically we are the stronger sex, right? So we should be able to handle these sorts of things. And it's interesting, isn't it, that a lot of the times when a good woman comes into your life, if you have a good woman come into your life, they're going to highlight things in yourself that you maybe haven't worked on. So if you haven't worked on these things, if you haven't worked on yourself to become a better man, she's going to highlight those cracks, those flaws, those things that you need to be better at, right? Because we, as I think, as human beings, we all know the things we need to be better at. I know the things I need to be better at for sure. And so I might be able to hide those to myself and deny those things. But when a woman comes into your life and she's testing you to see, like, is this guy going to be able to handle like taking care of me, she's going to bring up all this stuff. And if you're not able to handle it, then yeah, she's going to either she's going to leave or she's going to walk all over you.
Yeah.
And if guys don't meet that call, that's what happens. And so it's really interesting because I've dealt with this with some friends in my life. They have this like lone wolf mentality that they think that they're meant to be a lone wolf. They're out on their own. All women are out to get them. They're trying to ruin their lives. And I've tried to express to them like, well, maybe there's something that you need to work on for yourself. Maybe you're not ready for the kind of woman that you don't even know she exists, because you can't imagine that she exists because you're not where you need to be yet to be able to handle what she's asking for of you. And so we'll dive more into this. I love this conversation already. It's really good. So I just want to introduce everybody to you. Number one, this podcast, the Unstuck movement, was created to help you find breakthrough in your life. These are true testimonies of breakthrough. We're going to talk to Paul Bauer today about the incredible breakthroughs that he's had in his life. We're sponsored by the Connected Leaders Academy. Make sure you check out connectedleadersacademy.com. And also, if you want to be the go-to authority in your field, the expert at what you do, and also want to leave a lasting impact on people's lives and make incredible connections that can change your business and change your life, I encourage you to join the Pro Podcaster Academy. You can join the waitlist at robzwentz.com. Paul Bauer, a certified life coach and NLP practitioner, helps men rebuild attraction and confidence to reignite passion in their relationships. With a focus on psychology and masculine presence, Paul empowers men to take control of their romantic lives. So, Paul, what I hear even in that description right there, helping men rebuild attraction and confidence to reignite that passion, right? Because that's what women want. They want us to be confident, and they want us to actually do the things that we know we're supposed to be doing. At least that's my perspective on it. I'm curious about yours, and also I want to know your story of how you got to where you are. Like, I know you were divorced back in 2014. What led you from that divorce to where you are today?
Yeah. Well, yeah. First, I want to talk about what you were saying. I don't disagree with you at all. In fact, when I start my podcast, I always say that I help men level up and get better with women, but the journey of leveling up and getting better with women helps us be better men in general. And it's almost like women make us better. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, when we talk about the evolutionary process of the betatization process, like I said, women aren't trying to betatize you, and those tests really are she needs that for evolutionary reasons, right? Because traditionally, if you go back thousands of years ago, when we're hunters and gatherers and stuff like that, she needed a strong masculine guy that was confident, that wasn't afraid to take on lions and stuff, that could protect her and her offspring and be able to provide for her and her offspring. So she needed to test you to make sure that you're that guy. Mm-hmm. The problem is, in our current society, where most of us aren't that guy. Most of us are nice guys. If you've ever read the book No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover, he asserts that we're on, several generations of nice guys going back to World War II now. And a lot of
it's like what is that circular statement? Hard times make strong men make easy times make weak men. And it just goes in a circle, right? So we're in like the weak men stage of that.
Yeah. And I'd like to think that we're coming out of it now that guys sort of have this understanding. Guys have been swapping notes about this stuff for the last 20 plus years in online forums going, what are we doing wrong? Like something's not right here. I can't keep a woman around. And that sort of leaves me to my Batman origin story, which is I was that guy. I was the guy who was always sniper dating. I was pretty good with women, but I was always looking for one woman at a time. Wasn't being very discerning with the women that I was choosing.
What is sniper dating? What does that mean?
So a lot of guys have this habit of they basically start treating every girl they're talking to as if they're already exclusive. So let's say you're on a dating app and you're trying to, you're swiping right on, hundreds of women, and then you might get 4 or 5 that are talking with you, but you might, out of that 4 or 5 that you get talking with you might get one that's sort of showing genuine interest in you. So you just forget all the other girls on the app and you go all in on the one girl. And then you really start trying to occupy your time with her, and you start, okay, I'm going to ask her on a date. Now that date went good. Now I'm going to try to get 5 or 6 more dates this week and fill up all of her time with my time, right? And then they just go all in on one girl. And so,
Right, okay.
and so it's kind of an inefficient way of dating, because if you look at the way women typically date, they are weighing their options. They are talking to multiple guys. They are, they might have 5 or 6 guys taking them out to dinner, and they're trying to see, okay, which one of these guys is the best possible guy for me? That's their hypergamous nature. And
women in general always have more options than guys do. There's a select few guys who like women are going nuts over, right? But like most guys, they don't have the options that women do.
Yeah. And so most guys just sort of take what they can get. Right. So that's why I say, like, most guys are sniper dating, and then they immediately go all in on one girl. And then when she asks, like, hey, are you seeing anybody else? They're like, no, I'm not talking to any other girls. Right. And so that's the way most guys do it. It's highly inefficient. And so guys can actually find better options by taking what women do and date multiple women at once. You don't have to be sleeping with all of them, but just at least weigh some options, right? And find women that are genuinely interested in you and generally wanting to put investment in you. And that's, the cream will rise to the top that way. But most guys don't do that. Most guys just go in all in with the first girl that is nice to them.
But you have to be that guy that multiple women would want to date.
Exactly. Why can't you be, Rob?
So let's get there. Yeah. How do you become that guy, right? Because I think as a guy, you want to be that guy who's desirable, and like you said, we're in a state right now in our society where those guys don't exist as much. So the guys who are doing it are probably really cleaning up the guys who are those guys. Yeah. But anyways, I'm curious about your origin story. We kind of like brushed over that though.
Yeah. So we can. I'll get into all of that, right? So I was that guy. I was the sniper dating guy. And I was always rushing for that white picket fence. I was like, I'm going to get married and have, 2.5 kids and a white picket fence. And so I rushed into marriage. I joined the U.S. Navy when I was 18. And 2 years into that, I met my now ex-wife. And I went home on leave, met her. I spent the entire week with her. I occupied her whole week. And then I went home back to San Diego, and I met her here in Colorado. And then we had this long distance relationship for almost a year. And then I convinced her to move to San Diego with me. And so we got an apartment together after barely knowing each other. And then within 3 months, we eloped. I was 19 years old. We eloped because basically I was getting ready to go on a 3-month training exercise, come back for a month, and then go on a 6-month cruise. And so I wanted to make sure that now that she was living with me, that she was taken care of, that we got BAH for our apartment. That's the Navy's, they give you a housing allowance so you can live out in town if you're married. The military almost encourages young enlisted men to rush into marriage so that they can get housing allowance, so they don't have to live on base, right? So I did that. I wanted to make sure she had insurance and that sort of thing, but we barely knew each other that whole year. We ended up staying together for 14 years. We have 2 beautiful children together, but the last half of that marriage was just miserable. I didn't like being around her. She was nagging and complaining all the time. And there was times where I would work like 17-hour days just so I could avoid coming home, because I knew that when I got home, it was just going to be an earful. She was going to tell me everything I'm doing wrong and, what I'm not doing right, and how she was going to dump all the kids in my lap after just, slaying dragons all day. And I just didn't want to deal with that. So I just stay at work longer. There was days where I didn't even want to sleep in the same room as her. So I'd go in the garage and grab a cot and go sleep in my office. I had a home office, and I would just sleep in there just because I didn't want to be around her. Just absolutely miserable. But I was also the kind of guy that was like, I made vows, and this is just how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be miserable for the rest of your life. Because my parents, right, they're still together. They're coming up on their 50th wedding anniversary, absolutely miserable together. My dad doesn't like hanging around with my mom. She does her own thing. She goes and has her own social circles. She's never at home. And then my dad complains that she's never at home, but when she is at home, he complains that she's at home too much. Right. So it's like, that's what I thought life was supposed to be. And I was never going to end that. Well, lucky for me, in 2014, she filed for divorce, and I found myself back on the dating circuit, and I just floundered. I had no idea what I was doing at this time because dating was completely different now. There was dating apps. I was 50 pounds overweight. I was afraid to make a move with women because, you hear all about this Me Too stuff, right? I was waiting for women to basically give me a handwritten invitation to go in for a kiss, and so I just floundered until I met this other girl near the end of 2014. And I call her red pill chick on my show because it wasn't my divorce that red pilled me. It was this relationship, what opened my eyes to what I was doing wrong. Right. So I got into this relationship with her. A year into that, I lost all the weight and I got in really good shape. She actually invited me to start doing like 5K races with her and 10K races with her and stuff. And then I started lifting weights and losing all the weight. But almost immediately, I fell back into the habits, the bad relationship habits that I had when I was married. And I got complacent. I stopped trying. I stopped taking her out on dates. I stopped trying to seduce her. I stopped trying to basically make her feel desired. And it was just like, she would show up and it was like, we're basically, every other week I'd go down to her house and we were basically like living roommates, which is boring. There's no romance there anymore. Mm-hmm. And so, but I thought that was just what you're supposed to do. You have the romance in the beginning and then you hit the finish line, you're exclusive and now you don't have to try anymore. Well, 2 years into that relationship, she was basically checked out. That's not what she was signed up for. And she started lining up her male orbiters the last 2 years of that relationship. And then right in 2019, like right near the end, she was really pushing me away. She didn't want me to come down to her house anymore. She was starting to go out with her male colleagues a lot for Friday night beers and stuff. And one of the guys from her work, well, he was so nice. He brought over a ladder and helped her paint her bedroom. Can you believe that? What a nice guy. Anyway, yeah, what a sweetheart. The last time I went down there, I found like my toothbrush put away in a drawer and like I have a dog bed because I have a dog I'd bring down there. She had that hidden away in her closet. And I was like, what? Why is all this stuff hidden away? Yeah. But anyway, she started acting so bad that I ended up breaking up with her. And so I found myself back on the dating circuit in 2019.
Well, good for you for breaking up with her because a lot of guys in that situation would just kind of like hang on. Yeah. So at least you had the foresight to do that. And I'm sorry to pause you real quick, but it's interesting because if you're taking personal, I'm curious how you respond to this, like taking personal responsibility and accountability for yourself, you caused this to happen.
I did.
It wasn't her that caused it to happen. It was the responsibility was on you.
Yeah, like I don't excuse her bad behavior at the end.
Sure.
She did cheat on me with that guy, and she ended up in a relationship with that guy like right after. So I don't.
But of course she did, right?
Yeah,
that's kind of
So this is where I got my epiphany, right? So I'm back on the dating circuit. Now I'm 50 pounds lighter. I'm in good shape. I'm able to get dates like nothing, right? So the big thing for guys who are not that guy, get in shape, right? So like a lot of guys complain like, oh, well, the women are only going for the top, 10% of dudes out there. You might as well not even try. Well, if you're in this country, if you are not obese, you are already in the top 25% of guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you learn a little game. You have good solid frame. The frame is what will handle the shit tests, right? Or the different tests that women throw at you. You develop game and frame. Now you're already in the top 10% of guys. Okay. Then let's say you even have a good job now. Now you have money. Okay. Now you're in the top 5% of guys. It's really not that hard, but guys, they like to talk themselves out of stuff. They have so many self-limiting beliefs. So what I found though, was that I didn't have game. I didn't have frame. And so I did have the money though. So that was nice. And I was in shape. So I was able to get dates, but I couldn't keep these women around more than like 2 or 3 dates. And I was getting really frustrated by that. And I was like, what am I doing wrong here? Right. And so I decided one of the blessings from Red Pill Chick was that she really got me into listening to audiobooks. And I go, I bet you there's some audiobooks that I can listen to on this. That'll help me fix this problem. So I took a deep dive into books on intersexual dynamics. I mentioned No More Mr. Nice Guy. I have a holy trinity of books that I refer to on my podcast all the time. How to Be a 3% Man by Corey Wayne. I've listened to that 25 times. Dating Essentials for Men by Dr. Robert Glover. I've listened to that about a dozen times. And then Atomic Attraction by Christopher Canwell. I've listened to about a dozen times as well. And I just would listen to those on repeat and then go out and start practicing the stuff that I was learning. And through that process, I ended up in a men's group on Facebook where my podcast was born out of. But during that time, I realized, okay, it's easy to get dates. If I just work on, game and frame, I can actually keep these women around longer. And on top of that, I learned to date more efficiently by dating multiple women at once and being able to let that cream rise to the top. And I learned that it really isn't as hard as most people think, And so I got pretty good at that. And I did that for a while until I met my current girlfriend. I call her Nurse Chick on the show to keep her anonymity out. There's a lot of creeps out there on the internet, but I've been with Nurse Chick now, going on quite a while. And it's just an effortless relationship because not only did I learn how to date more efficiently, but I learned how to, be the leader and set the tone in a relationship. And how to handle her tests. She really doesn't test me very much at all, if ever. And if she does, I don't notice it because I just deal with it. Like, I just handle it. And so we have a phenomenal relationship. And so that's really what I like to try to help guys with. And I like to help guys prevent what I went through, because I've been through that. I know exactly how it feels like. I know when you go to initiate sex with your wife and she's constantly rejecting you, how you basically just give up on it because you feel so rejected and so like just unattractive yourself that you're just like, yeah, whatever. But you're willing to just live miserable life because you think that's what you're supposed to do. And it's like, no, it's not supposed to be that way.
Yeah, and I'll just go back to what I said at the beginning, man. It's this personal integrity, right? If you're keeping promises, it's super simple, but it's also really hard, depending on what your habits are like and the pattern you've built for yourself. But if you have integrity for yourself, like you want to keep the promises you have to yourself, and we all want to be better. We all want to be in shape. We all want to be somebody who stays true to our word. I want to be somebody who's successful, who has a good job, who's somebody that people would want to have around them, right? Somebody that you call in a pinch and that person would be there to help you out, and not in a weak kind of way, in like a strength kind of way. Like these sorts of things are baked into who we are as guys.
You would think.
Well, they are. They're there. They're all there for all of us. I mean, seriously, I think every guy, because I can relate to you totally. I mean, going back, because I was married, got divorced. I was in a relationship for 14 years. So along the same lines as your first one. And, I was just, I mean, if I had a boy, I mean, I was addicted. I had addiction issues, drug addiction issues, self-loathing, self-hatred. Just, I would not want to be around me. I didn't like myself. So why would anybody else want to be around me? And so if you find yourself constantly self-loathing yourself, a good woman is not going to want to deal with that. They're not going to be able to deal with that. And if they are dealing with that, then they're kind of in the same boat as you are. And you guys are going to be very toxic for one another. And it's interesting that this is such a common issue because like you've said here, the solutions to it are simple. They're not easy. I mean, it's not easy to do it, right? It takes time to.
It's simple on paper, but does require work.
Pulls yourself out of that. But one of the biggest things, and you said earlier, like you said about your parents, right? You didn't have a good example of good relationships. One of the things I found that's been extremely helpful for me is that you have to find people that are in really healthy relationships in your life. Because I have people in my life now that I have a mentor, right? He's 86. Him and his wife have been together since they were, I think, 19. And they're just as in love now, I think, as they were when they first met. Not that I knew them when they were 19, but you know what I mean? It's like seeing these examples of like super healthy relationships and then asking questions. Why did that relationship work so well? I had a guy on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, Ed Doherty. He's been married, I think, for 50 years. And I was asking him what it took. Like, what was it about that relationship that kept it the way that it is? So going and finding those examples and then learning from those people, because those people do exist and good women do exist. They're out there. I had a friend also that was just convinced that there was no good women, and it was them. It was the woman's problem, not his problem. It's like, dude, that's just not the case.
It's never their problem, right? No one ever. A lot of man. My podcast is in the red pill space. Red pill gets a bad rap because a lot of guys who brand themselves as red pill really like to talk about how women have no sense of accountability and women are all gold diggers and whatever, like all this negative stuff. And it's like, man, they never take accountability for themselves. It's like, yeah, she might not have been that great of a person. Sure. But what can you do better? You can't change other people. You can only change yourself and how you show up in relationships. So, but yeah, most people are like, oh, I want my wife to change. I want my wife to change. But what's funny is this is why, a lot of traditional marriage counseling fails a lot, is because both people think this way, right? Yeah. They both the man and the woman, they both have problems with each other. And so they go to a relationship therapist, and they sort of hope that the therapist is going to take their side and gang up on the other person and tell the other person why they should change.
Right.
And so a lot of times that'll happen where I think most relationship therapists will try to be fair and talk to both people about why they should change, but both people only hear, yeah, you need to change that, and so a lot of women are like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore because I don't need to change. And it's just, so I don't like working with couples. I work with men.
Yeah. And the difference between therapy and coaching, right? Getting a coach is going to push you to be better. They're going to have you focus on you getting better, not, oh, here's what went wrong. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with going back and trying to like understand your past, but at the same time, that's your past. That's old. What's happening right now? What's going to happen in the future? Who do you need to be? And that's the kind of stuff, like that honesty, being honest with people. Like, listen, like what you're saying, like, you're not where you need to be. You need to be where you feel you need to be if you want to have the right kind of relationships that you want to have in your life. Plain and simple. It's that simple. So I'm sorry, real quick, we got to take a pause. Shout out to the sponsor of the podcast. When we come back, though, with the time we have left, I want to talk about these essential skills of a masculine presence. So the essential things, we've already touched on some of them, but I'm curious what these skills are specifically that you implemented that have changed men's lives. We'll jump into that right after this. Are you struggling to make consistent, valuable content for yourself? Do you want to have an efficient and effective way to create content that attracts the people that you want to connect with in life, the people you want to build relationships with in business? Do you want to be the go-to authority at what you do, at what you're great at? Would it be helpful for you if you had a platform that connects you to incredible people in your industry? The kind of platform that gets you leads and lands you clients without you having to beat down anybody's door or blow up anybody's inbox. Whether you're already creating content or you're desiring to start and it's something that's been kind of burning inside of you for a while, I urge you and encourage you to check out the Pro Podcaster Academy. Get started right now. Join the waitlist at robzwentz.com.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, join the Connected Leaders Academy today. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
So, Paul, loving this conversation, man. It's really good. And I'm curious, like the top 3 things you would say for a guy, maybe in a marriage where he feels like he's emasculated, things are falling apart. What are the top 3 things he could do right now to start to change that situation?
Well, a lot of guys, so guys have been swapping notes about this stuff for the last 20 plus years in forums, and the number one thing that we can all agree on is hit the gym. Hitting the gym, getting yourself in shape, it does more than just make you look good, but it does so much for your mental health. If your wife's being a nagging person and you don't want to deal with that, or you don't know how to deal with that quite yet, it's a good escape, right? Go instead of blowing up at her and getting all emotional with her, just, I'm not not feeling this right now. I'm going to go to the gym, right? Go take it out in the gym. But the next thing you need to learn is emotional control, a little bit of emotional durability. And when we talk about that in the space, if a lot of people lose their minds about it, right? Because they're like, oh, men need to be more vulnerable. They need to cry more. They need to be able to show their emotions. And it's like, there's a time and a place for it. And the thing is that men tend to default to anger, right? Women tend to default to sadness, men default to anger. And so when we're in a position where our wives are nagging us, like our initial reaction is to blow up at her and to tell her to F off or whatever, right? Well, that will hurt you in the relationship. She'll go around and tell everyone that you're emotionally abusive and stuff. So you got to learn how to have some control over your reactions to things and actually be able to learn how to respond instead of react emotionally. So that's a lot of the stuff that we talk about with the Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence series. And then having, and that's a part of having good mental frame, right? Just having, a good understanding of who you are, being able to stay centered during a crisis, because that's what will show your strength as a man for her. And that's, so that's important to her. And that's why she's testing you, is because you're not showing that. You're able to be crushed under all these pressures of the world. And that shows that's emotional weakness, right? Mm-hmm. And then having some game. What attracted her in the first place? Like, you were probably a smooth talking guy, you probably wooed her a little bit, I talk a lot about how guys get to a place in their long-term relationships where they stop seducing their wife, right? They get to a place where everything's routine. It's like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. Well, you want to fool around now? Like, that's not sexy, right? But if you throughout the evening, she's cooking dinner, you walk up behind her and you put your arms around her and you kiss her on the back of the neck and you pull away a little bit, all that sort of physical touch, little by little overnight, gets her in the mood more. She actually starts feeling a little more desired and more sexually attractive. She feels like she's sexy to you, and women want to feel sexy, right? But if you're just, God, I saw a video the other day where this female marriage therapist was talking to women, saying, yeah, maintenance sex is important in a relationship. I'm like, that sounds awful to me, and yeah, I'm going to be doing a stream about this next week, how basically when women feel obligated to do that sort of thing, it becomes a chore to them, and that builds up resentment over time in the long term. So if you just let your wife do the maintenance sex thing with you, you're going to fail. Like, that relationship is going to end badly. So I say, as far as a masculine presence, is guys need to set the tone and lead the relationship that they want to have, Yeah,
it's really good advice. And, whenever we're talking about, just showing your wife that she's being pursued, like, that's what it is. Like, having these little things like breadcrumbs that you drop throughout the day, going on dates, like setting up date nights on a weekly basis. My wife, she holds us to that, and I'll forget sometimes, like, because the week goes by so fast. And I'm like, man, that's something we have to do. These sorts of things have to happen. That, like, little bit of intimacy to show, like, that you're into her throughout the day is super important. It's like, I always go back to the book The Slight Edge, because the most important things in life, they're easy to do, they're easy not to do, but you've got to be super aware of what you need to be doing, because this stuff just floats by, especially if you have jobs and kids and all the other things, all activities outside of work going on in your life, man. Things can go by so fast. You've got to be super intentional about it. And I'm curious for you, right? So you're in a long-term relationship. What are the things? Are these the things that you're doing? You mentioned 3 things right there. Are there certain things for you in your relationship that you're like, okay, this happens every day, this happens every week? What do you have in as staples for your relationship?
I don't like having a set schedule. I hate the idea of scheduled date nights, because that becomes routine, and routines become boring, and you can be anything to a woman, but you can't be boring. So what I just constantly like to have, I like this concept. I learned it from one of my mentors in the space. He's also a colleague of mine, Rollo Tomasi. He's like, you have to eventually become the game. Right? Where this is just who you are. That's why the relationship with Nurse Chick and I is effortless, is because this is just who I am now. So I don't wait to plan date nights necessarily. I just will get an inkling, like, we need to go do something. like, let's go do something. And so
that's easy to do if you don't have kids and a bunch of stuff going on. Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to plan.
Well, even then, I think it behooves the guy to take a role in that planning, because a lot of times,
for sure,
a lot of guys don't do that, and they will let their wife do all the planning for the dates and stuff like that. And that, leaving that stuff up to her, you're basically putting her in the driver's seat. And once she's in the driver's seat long enough, she won't trust you to drive again. Yeah. And that's where guys fall into complacency, is they just they sort of hand the reins of the relationship over to their wife to do all the planning and everything. And they're like, I'm going to go to work and then I'm going to come home and you just tell me what to do. Oh, we're having a party tonight. Oh, your friends are coming over. Okay. Yeah. Just tell me where I need to be. And so most guys are like that. And she's now setting the tone and leading the relationship. And then she resents you for it because she thinks that's your job at a subconscious level.
It's really interesting, man, when you understand that dynamic, that women will take control. They have a natural inclination to take control, but they don't want to take control. They want you to take control, but they will end up doing it if you don't. And then they'll resent you for it. And it's a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it's a void. It has to be filled. Somewhat, there, like it or not. And I also don't like to use the term partner, because even though it's socially acceptable, a lot of the problem with that I explain in my book is that when guys look at their wife as their equal partner in the relationship, they start deferring to her. They want her buy-in on everything before they can make a decision. And she doesn't really want to make decisions. I mean, ask your wife what she wants to eat for dinner. She can't tell you. Ask her what she's going to wear tonight to go out to the party. She's got 5 choices and she can't make up her mind. Right. So a lot of times women don't want to make those decisions and they want to relax in their feminine and let you set the tone and lead, but most guys won't do that. So I argue that a more healthy dynamic is more of a captain, executive officer type relationship where you are setting the tone and leading, you're making the plans, and you're taking her ideas under advisement though. So to use the dinner analogy thing, I love using this all the time. I learned this from Christopher Canwell, but instead of asking her what she wants to eat for dinner or where you want to go out to eat, honey, just pick a place, right? And if most guys are like, well, I don't care. Good. If you don't care, then it doesn't matter what you pick. So just pick a place, right? Yeah. And then to say, hey, honey, I'm feeling like steak tonight. Let's go to Chili's. Grab your shoes. 9 times out of 10, your wife's going to go, oh, okay, yeah, sounds good. And she'll go grab her shoes, right? And then like that 1 time out of 10, she'll go, I don't really want to go to Chili's tonight. So now she's your executive officer. Okay, well, do you have a better suggestion? If she's like, yeah, I would much rather go to Applebee's, right? They're the same restaurant. But if she's like, I'd much rather go to Applebee's. Okay, cool. There's no reason not to go with your wife's suggestion if it's a better suggestion and you really don't care, right? But if she goes, not really, I just know I don't want to go to Chili's. Well, then you need to stick to your guns and go, well, I'm going to Chili's. You're welcome to join me, right? So that's where a guy can set the tone and lead more. But the thing is that ever since I've been applying that, I've never had that argument. It's always just been, okay, sounds good. Or what Nurse Chick does now, because she knows I'm going to pick a place if she doesn't. Mm-hmm. If she really wants to go somewhere, she'll suggest a place first. So she'll say, hey, I'm thinking about this place. Okay, cool. Like I don't care either, right? So it ends up being a more healthy dynamic, and she sort of trusts that I'm going to set the tone and lead. I'm not going to wait for her to tell me to do things. I'm going to, like, if I see something that needs to be done, a lot of guys also in the red pill space think that they don't have to do chores around the house. Do things because they need to be done, not because you're trying to get something from her, right? If you're trying to, get more sex because she told you to do the dishes, well, now that's what we call a covert contract, where you're doing something to get something. And she doesn't know what the plan is, and so then she resents you when you, or you resent her when she doesn't give you what you think you deserve for doing this sort of thing. But so instead of doing that, just do what needs to be done because you're the man and you're the leader in this household, right? So that's part of the things that I'm trying to get guys to. A lot of my there's a couple of my coaching clients right now. Their problem is they've gotten to a point in their relationship where they got comfortable, where they think that they don't have to do anything anymore. Like they're comfortable in their career, right? And they've been stuck in the same position for the last 15 years or so. They haven't really made any more money. She's actually gotten promoted and makes more money. And a lot of guys think, oh, well, when a woman makes more money than you, the relationship's automatically over. Not necessarily, but one of the reasons why she'll lose attraction in a circumstance like that is because she feels like you've lost your ambition. Women like a guy that's ambitious, that has things going on, that's kind of a go-getter, that has a mission in life. But if you just, I don't have a mission anymore, I'm just going to exist, that's not attractive to women. And so of course she's going to lose attraction to you. So, but there's so many guys out there that default to that. And so when guys realize that, no, they have a burden of performance, right? Going back to, I think I mentioned Breifeld's law at the beginning.
It's a great way of putting it, a burden of performance.
Yeah. Breifeld's law says, the woman determines whether there's going to be a relationship or not based on if she's getting value out of the relationship. If she feels like you're not a value, she's going to leave. So if you want your relationship to last, the work never stops. You always have to be working on yourself, becoming the best possible man you could be. Always be a man of purpose, always be a man on mission. A lot of guys are like, well, I don't want to do that. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. Okay, well then relationships aren't for you. It's simple as that. But most guys in that position will think that they're happy. You see them in the comments all the time. Oh, just stay single. I'm so happy I'm single. Are you? Because if you were really happy being single, you wouldn't be in my comment section telling me how happy you are. You would just be out living your best life being happy. So I think a lot of guys are deluding themselves with that, and they just don't want to put in the work.
100%. 100%, man. That's really good. We have to wrap this thing up. We're out of time, but this has been so good, Paul. I could talk about this stuff for hours because it's so important. And that line right there, men have a burden of performance. It's a necessity. You have to perform and you have to always want to get better. And women are attracted to that growth because they need a leader in their life. You're the man of the household. You're supposed to be leading the household. You got to lead your wife. You got to lead your kids. That's your duty. That's your responsibility. And also to society. That's your responsibility in society. And that's just how it is. No matter what the media or whatever you want to say is trying to change that viewpoint and try to make that not the case. That's the case. That'll always be the case. That's the way that it is. And it's a good thing. It was designed that way. So accept it and embrace it. The sooner you can accept it and embrace it, the easier it gets. Trying to fight against it all the time, you're tearing yourself apart and you're tearing apart the way things were designed to be. So really good stuff, dude. I love this. Your book's out right now. Your newest book, By the Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence, on Amazon. Look at that. That's a badass looking book.
Yeah, there's 3 books out under that title. So mine's Psychology Paradigm. The other one is Power Frame Identity. And then there's one called Psychology Emotion. And there's 3 of them out now. And they're all based on my friend Thor's book, A Dominant Masculine Presence. So if you look for the all those 4 books, you have
a friend named Thor?
I do. And he literally is a god amongst men. I love that guy.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know why that tickled me. That's funny. Wow.
A lot of people think that's Thor. A pen name too. That's his born given name.
That's like your name being Brock Lesnar. Like you can't help but be a freak of nature.
Oh, and he is.
Oh, yeah.
Thor is.
So, okay. Also, just a reminder, if you want to be the authority in your space, you want to launch your platform, check out robzwentz.com. Paul, this has been awesome, man. Anything you want to leave the audience with before we sign off?
Yeah, I'll say go get the book, Psychology Paradigm. It'll help rewire your mind to have more of a dominant masculine presence. And then if you really need some one-on-one help, I offer, here we go, relationship coaching. If you go to fixdeadbedrooms.com, you can book a free call with me. I can talk to you about what's going on in your relationship. If I can help you, I'll show you what that looks like. And if I can't, I'll at least point you in the right direction.
Amazing, dude. Thanks for your time. Thanks for doing what you do. This has been another true testimony of breakthrough. This has been the Unstuck movement.